Welcome to The Real Story. I'm your host, Riley Lewis. Thank you for joining us. The most difficult thing in any negotiation, almost, is making sure that you strip it of emotion and deal with the facts. These are the wise words of Howard Baker, and they shine a light on today's top story. Born on November 15th of 1925, Baker served as one of the two U.S. senators for the state of Tennessee from 1967 to 1985. And he was the first Republican senator to be elected in that state following the end of the Reconstruction era. Known for his success in brokering compromises, he garnered the nickname the Great Conciliator, and also briefly served as the White House Chief of Staff for President Ronald Reagan. Baker was also elected leader of the Senate Republicans in 1977 and led the Senate GOP for the last 8 years of his tenure. And today, as the government shutdown continues, we reflect on his wise words about negotiation, because Democrats are playing on people's emotions instead of dealing in facts. The fact is that extending healthcare subsidies to potentially cover illegal immigrants is entirely unnecessary. The fact is that those subsidies also don't expire until the end of the year, which means this whole debate doesn't even have to happen right now. And the fact is, the shutdown is hurting the country. Democrats, independents, and Republicans. So given these undeniable facts, the question remains, why are we still here? And what does this mean for Americans who rely on government services? And how does one reason with a group of people who are unreasonable? In an era of instability, uncertainty, and widespread economic frustration, Chuck Schumer and his colleagues are prioritizing political gamesmanship over public service, and the American people are paying for it. So here we are, with hundreds of thousands of federal workers furloughed, and several other hundreds of thousands toiling without pay, all because Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are digging in their heels. Republicans, led by President Trump and House Speaker Mike Johnson, offered a clean, nonpartisan funding bill to keep the lights on through late November, focusing on cuts to wasteful spending and bolstering security for our judiciary after the tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk. But Democrats? They're demanding these subsidies right now, wrapped in claims of helping everyday Americans. But peel back the layers and you'll find the ugly truth. These expansions have been riddled with enrollment fraud, potentially funneling billions of dollars to undocumented immigrants, so non-citizens who shouldn't qualify in the first place. And as a result of these antics, essential services like Medicare limp along. But forget about NIH research grants or timely WIC benefits for moms and kids. National parks shuttered. Patent offices grinding to a halt. And those transit projects in blue states? As if the high-speed railway to nowhere needed even more delays to have been frozen. And all while the Trump administration wisely redirects focus to real priorities and real people. This is not just inconvenience. It's economic drag on hardworking people who are already being squeezed by inflation. That's the rub. That's the problem. And President Trump's team knows it. And that's why they're pushing for more talks, something that Schumer flat out denies, preferring to play the blame game over bipartisanship. Simply put, it is just theater, kabuki theater, with Democrats betting on a prolonged shutdown that will hurt Republicans come the midterms. But amidst the chaos, Baker's wisdom really cuts through. Strip the emotion and stick to the facts. This situation, it's not about subsidies. It's really about power and putting non-citizens ahead of citizens. America deserves better. So Republicans, stand firm. Reopen on your terms or let the Dems own this mess. After all, in negotiations, facts don't care about your feelings or your poll data. Now, here with his thoughts and updates is North Carolina GOP Congressman Mark Harris. Representative, thank you for being here today.
Hey, Riley, it's great to be back with you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, it's an honor. Now, my first question to you, it would be great if you could please tell us about the current status of negotiations or non-negotiations and what's happening in the halls of Congress right now.
Well, first of all, let me just commend you on your opening monologue. That was incredible. And I think that you summarized exactly what has been happening and what is happening even at this very hour. 2 weeks ago, this past Friday, I mean, this Friday will be coming up on 3 weeks. The United States House of Representatives passed a clean CR and sent it over to the Senate. It had no frills, it had no riders, it had no political games included. It wasn't loaded up with things that we would somehow have to be able to sit down and try to negotiate. It was a clean CR that simply extended till November 21st, the deadline for the shutdown of government, because September 30th was going to be the end of the fiscal year. And instead of just doing what they had done 13 times under the
Yes.
Biden administration, Chuck Schumer chose to take this opportunity. Basically, in my mind, he is throwing a Hail Mary, just like you said. It's all about political power. And he decided that, look, we can hold the American people and we can hold the government hostage and we can demand certain things because they've been losing on every level. And so they come along and they are making these claims that somehow we've got to have agreements today on this or that, or we're not going to keep the government open. And so as a result, they have shut it down. There's plenty of time for the discussion and the debate on the subsidies to take place. And that's what real Americans do. They understand that elections do matter. And when you're in the minority, such as they are, you come to the table when the table is set and you do business as usual. And you make your argument, you make your case. But you don't hold the American people hostage. You don't take the government hostage and say, if you don't play games our way, we're going to shut everything down. And that's exactly what Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have chosen to do. And thank God there's 3 Democrats that have crossed over, and we need 5 more in the Senate to be able to recognize the foolishness of this effort they're under and reopen the government. And I'm grateful for President Trump. I'm grateful for Speaker Johnson. I'm grateful for Senator Thune. They're all holding united, and we're holding united to simply make sure we can go get the job done and finish these appropriation bills like we're setting out to do. And the extension allows us to keep moving forward. And the Democrats, under Chuck Schumer's leadership, has said, no, we want to stop everything.
To your point, it's very clear to me that Democrats in Congress are trying to hurt Republicans. However, in reality, they're hurting the American people. And I just wonder if they actually see the consequences of their ridiculous and irresponsible actions. What do you think, sir?
Well, I think they're about to see because, it was one thing to shut the government down on October 1st, which everyone had just received their paycheck. Now, for many in the government that get paid once a month, they won't get paid again until the 1st of November, that opportunity. But for those that are paid every 2 weeks or those that are paid on the 15th of the month, that opportunity to miss a paycheck is about to become very real. And of course, the one thing that they're not taking into consideration is that when they made this decision, they have handed over the reins to the Office of Management and Budget. And Russ Vought, under his leadership, is simply looking and he's having to make the decisions on what we're going to be able to fund and what we're not going to be able to fund, but make the decisions on what priorities line up with what this administration is. As a conservative, as a Republican, I'm thrilled with that. We're going to shrink the size of government, perhaps, that we've been talking about doing for a long time. But it will have been really gift wrapped and handed to us by Chuck Schumer and the Democrats if this actually starts taking place.
Wow. So as it stands right now, government's still being shut down, many people concerned, and rightfully so. One final question for you today, Representative. So looking into the future, there is a chance eventually this government will hopefully be reopened, but this whole experience, it's been very revealing, extremely eye-opening for millions of us in this country. Democrats are putting party and ideology above the well-being of their own constituents. What kind of message does that send to you, sir?
Well, it tells us this. In November of last year, and I've said this on your program and to many others, in November of 24, the American people voted to do government differently. They held on to the majority in the United States House. They flipped the Senate to be a majority of Republicans, and they put Donald J. Trump back in the White House for a second term. They wanted government to operate differently. They recognized that we needed to do business. And that's what this whole thing illustrates, the reality of what the election results were all about. Donald Trump is not interested in playing politics. The Speaker of the House is not interested in playing politics, as I said. Otherwise, we could have loaded up that CR with a number of things to negotiate. And people keep asking, well, are Republicans going to sit down and negotiate? There is nothing to negotiate. This was the cleanest CR you can imagine that simply moved the date to November 21st so we could continue to move appropriation bills. It's the Democrats that have shut it all down. So I think that message is getting to the American people. I certainly hope it is. I'm doing my best to share that message across my district, and people in my district understand it. And we're being urged, hold the line, stand strong. And we're intending to do just that.
Well, I would like to echo that message myself, sir. Please do everything you can. I know you guys are fighting hard for this country to deliver real results to real Americans, and I thank you very much for that. And I also thank you for your time today, sir, truly.
Well, thank you, Riley. It's always a pleasure to be with you and so greatly appreciate what you do.
Likewise.